Ladies and gentlemen, we're saddled up for episode number 80. Welcome to the Registered Ranching Podcast. And if you're on YouTube, you can tell we are at a new place, a new location for the first time, hopefully not the last. We'll talk about that a little later. But I do want to introduce to the Registered Ranching Podcast. We are in Fort Worth at one of my favorite places called the Meat Board. And we have Don Ray with us over here on my left, and straight across is the Hall of Fame rodeo announcer himself, Mr. BobTallman. Thank both of you for being willing to get behind the mic. And Bob, I know we've been working on this for about 6 months, and we finally got it together.
Well, wishes do come true.
Wishes. I feel like the Make-A-Wish kid that finally got to be on the mic with Bob Tallman. Thanks for jumping on.
Well, it's a pleasure, Tucker, and to have Don Ray here is one of my heroes because of the nearly 60 years that he has been in the food industry. People say in the beef business, yes, that's a part of it. What people don't understand today is, and we can go back 45 years ago, he was the first man to ever cook and freeze hamburger meat and package it and sell it nationwide.
Wow.
Now think about that. What was the name of that outfit you sold it to?
Let me see. It was
Taco Bell?
Taco Bell. That's correct, yes.
Wow.
Think about this.
We were one of 2 or 3 other suppliers, but they were huge.
When you can do something as a whim, a wish, and then your dream comes true, and produce enough taco meat for Taco Bell, you've done something.
Yes, you have.
In our particular deal is, of course, I'm an R.A. Brown ranch enthusiast. I own cattle in the commercial side. My favorite bull is Titus because I think he's cooler than Dude. He's the king.
I like that. I like that bull.
I'm going to join you with saying, for those of you that have never been to the Meat Board, we're at 6314 Camp Bowie Boulevard in Cowtown, USA. That's Fort Worth, Texas, 76116, 76116. Why do I give you that? Because everybody will go to a zip code, then they'll go back to Camp Bowie, then they'll figure out where we are. Why are we here? There are millions of people today that don't know about beef, believe it or not. Millions. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that the king of sending people to beef was COVID.
Yes.
People want to know where their food came from.
And it brought people home.
Mm-hmm.
And it brought the family back to the table.
So true.
And at my house, we're 3 generations deep. I am 5 generations deep since 1903 in Tenio, Nevada. And all my family raised Hereford cattle, horned Hereford cattle. And now we raise Angus cattle, as you can see behind me, one of my favorite murals any place in the world. But when we say to you, to your dad, to your grandfather, and generations back, and now with your kids, the beef business is the key to success at R.A. Brown Ranches in Throckmorton, Texas.
Yeah, very true.
That's my opening.
There you go.
That's amazing.
It's like you've done that a time or two. How many, if you had to, and this is a bad question, but I'd love to hear your answer. Do you have an idea of how many rodeos you have announced? Because you've announced probably more than 98% of people have ever attended. Maybe even 100, maybe even 100%.
Rodeo physical, indoors, outdoors. I had a radio show for 18 years called The Great American Cowboy.
I didn't know that.
And then 13 years we had The Great American Farmer radio network.
Oh, wow.
Where'd you do that at?
Actually in Oregon.
Okay.
And then I moved to Texas, and we ended up selling all of that stuff to ConAgra. And they were a major sponsor of ours for all the years. Weld County, Colorado, another great beef production company.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you take the rodeos live, the radio, we got this thing called television. And I started off, my first TV job was with CBC Sports in Canada, and with Kirk Gowdy on ABC Wide World of Sports at Cheyenne, where he came from at the daddy of them all.
That's unbelievable.
Who's my hero?
And I just went to Cheyenne for the very first time. Got back 2 days ago.
Isn't it amazing?
3 days ago. It was incredible. I never
It's the biggest, best organized circus of
It's
Western
amazing.
entertainment on the face of the earth.
What a great description, because it's more than a rodeo.
Oh, my God.
There's so much more going on.
You got the rodeo, you got the track, you got the night show, you got the bull ridings, you got, what do you want? They got it.
Yeah, you got the
And it's
pancake
totally
breakfast.
unlike anything you see around like a Fort Worth show or a Houston show or
It
whatever.
is different.
It
Oh,
is
yeah.
so different. It's a Wild West.
Fort Worth is the most traditional rodeo on the planet.
Yes.
Houston is the all-time biggest payoff, 20 days long, along with the entertainment faction. It's the biggest for 4-H and FFA kids. It's the biggest where we have 168,000 people, records on the grounds, and we can only put 74,000 of them in the arena. The only guys put more people in that arena at NRG Stadium is a fellow named George Strait. After the rodeo is over.
Right.
And he's amazing.
He is.
And a rancher and a beef producer.
I do, yeah.
Tucker, to answer maybe a whim of a question before you ask it, so many people today don't understand meat. And so many people today do something to meat that just kills me. It's called waste. Not knowing how to prepare meat is so simple to learn. And not knowing and understanding that seconds and thirds availability to go in the ice box, I wouldn't take something and cook it and refreeze it, but probably somebody has, and it's probably okay. But the biggest problem in the beef industry today is the consumer waste that happens. That's a sin. It just shouldn't happen.
Watching, I thought I had known, growing up in the beef business, I thought I knew how to cook. COVID hits.
Yep.
I started doing a little more cooking at home, just like you just said a minute
Yep.
ago. And I remember getting my first cut sheet, and I was like, what is a bavette? What is a, wait, there's an inside and an outside skirt? And all of this, which I thought I knew being a rancher, I was very humbled because the beef business is a little different than the cattle business. And you've done both, and which we can talk about too. But you're so right, where when people started cooking at home again, they wanted beef. And I don't know if that wasn't passed down or if we had just gotten away from eating at home so much that maybe a generation forgot or didn't learn how to cook beef. But I'm super thankful for YouTube because I now know how to cook a lot of beef.
Well, I want to tell people on the podcast, be ready to put it on hold because we're going to have 10 different segments of opportunity. This is a cut sheet. This is from American Butchery, right out here at Santo, Texas. Tucker and I both use this. Don uses them as well.
Yes.
And a lot of the meat that comes through here. You got to, why are we here and so forth and so on. You were here before I was, but I raise red and black Angus beef, and so does R.A. Brown Ranches at Throckmorton. And to understand, I did not intend to get in the beef business 20 years ago. Somebody said, well, you raise me a steer. Raise me a cow is what they said. And I said, okay. What do you want to do with it? I said, I want to chop it up and all these different deals. I see what somebody told me about it at 5 o'clock at the bar last night. And I want to have some beef. I said, okay, well, we raise our own. And we butcher and process cattle. The word butcher scares some people away. Processing is predominantly the kosher term of taking a live animal and taking it through the butchering process.
Right.
And people say, oh, my God, they're so beautiful. I see them standing out in somebody's pasture. Yes, they are. But so are deer. So are people that, shoot wild hogs. There's processing to it. You got to be very careful how you do that. I'm a pork fan. I'm a chicken fan, okay? And I also eat escargot ahead of my beef. So when you think about a cut sheet and what Tucker brought up, this cut sheet will give you an opportunity to all of our customers. We do about 60,000 pounds of meat a year. And when you go down through it and look at it, primal cuts, pieces, packs, thickness, roast length of how you want to do that, bone in or bone out. And I'm a keep bone in because the bone heats and distributes the heat equally through a piece of meat, whether it be a ribeye, a T-bone, or bone in a roast, makes
And
all the
enhances
difference.
flavor a little in some cuts too.
Of course, always.
Yeah.
Always. And we're going to talk about tallow today, too. People,
All right.
really? Say, what do you do with tallow? I should probably use more of it, but I'm only 22 years from being 100, and I've earned these wrinkles, so I'm going to keep what I got.
Don't we all?
You take a prime rib roast, a ribeye steak, a New York steak, a T-bone, or a porterhouse, which you better have a big family if you're going to cut one into the porterhouse. Tenderloin roast, tenderloin fillet, sirloins, chuck eye, the Denver, brisket. And a minute ago you mentioned brevet. The skirt inside and out, nothing is wasted in our processing policies. The flank and the flat iron. How are you going to prepare what percentages of fat? 90-10, 80-10 of fat in your ground beef hamburger. There's lots of ways to look at ground beef. It's hamburger. And about a third to maybe in some cattle, 40% of that will go, because not everybody wants a roast. Before you grind it up into hamburger, think about having it cut in steaks. Roasts make awesome steaks. The list goes on. We'll teach you how to do all of these things. Chuck roast, arm, the rump, pikes, peak roast, stew meat, the cutlets that'll come out of a T-bone if you don't do that and use the far side. Bone marrow, yep. Soup bones, yep. The heart, the liver, the tongue, the oxtail, the cheek, the kidney. How do you use all that stuff? Well, not everybody wants to talk about the final thing I just brought up, but it's not going to get wasted. That's all there is to it. It's kind of like saving a 4-foot piece of 2 5/8-inch pipe, and then another piece, and then you grind them off and you weld them together, and you got an 8-foot post.
Right.
Don't waste. Don't waste, and don't waste your beef.
Great point.
You know, I think too, if I just jump in
go
here,
ahead.
and that what you've said is just right on target, because again, being in this business for a long time, many years ago, there were cuts that we have today that weren't even thought of back then, like the Denver, and you just mentioned them all, so I won't go over that. But those were discovered over the last few years, especially COVID helped that, because once that did, people started going to the grocery store and they started using everything that they could off an animal, because it's all edible, and identifying, like I say, a Denver steak. 20 years ago, that was ground up for product that went to a Taco Bell or a Pizza Hut or somebody like that, But now they identified it as these chefs get together and they identify a muscle that'll be less expensive but very, very edible and flavorful, and they put it in their menu, and it helps to find something else in that animal that sells to the people out there. So
people don't understand palatability. And palatability, as we three know, and everybody that's in this restaurant eating here today, and here's the cool thing about this place, is you can come here and you can eat and have lunch, but you can also get any and all cuts of meat prepared in cool or in cabinets, and go get the sides and take it home and have dinner tonight. Camp Bowie Boulevard is on the west side of Fort Worth, and they might live in Dallas. But they've got a cooler in the car, and they come here specifically, and we'll show some of these cuts of meat before it's over.
Yeah.
And if you need help, you need advice, all the people that work here, including our kitchen, can give you advice on how to cook it. And preparation is a very important part. We'll bring about a 30-pound brisket in here in a minute and show you. You don't just grab it, you don't just throw it on the grill. And one of the wasteful things about what people do with meat today is they don't know how to cook it.
Right.
And it's quite simple. How many people make stew today? Think about this. It's unbelievable. Everybody says, well, I want ribs. Do you really? Have you ever had tablitas? Have you had short ribs? You can get both out of a set of ribs, and the ribeye without the bone can...
Perfect point.
There you go. They give you 3 cuts out of one set. And don't be afraid to ask when you go into the meat board or other places like this around the country. Ask the butcher. If he doesn't know, get the heck out of there.
Let me jump in. That's a great point, Bob, and you're leading me into Tucker, tell me if I pull the
No,
string
go
if I
ahead.
get to talking too much. But that's the reason you see these cattle on this wall. That's the place I have that I always wanted to kind of see what I could raise and make sure that it was 100% edible, because that's what I studied at A&M 100 years ago. But so then later in life, I decided that this butcher shop was something that interests me, because I wanted to see those animals in here and controlling some of the genetics and also the feeds to see if I could produce something that was going to be edible to everybody that came in, and identified different cuts that would sell. And that's why this meat board came into my mind, that I wanted to have it premium product. I don't want to be just anything to everybody. I wanted to be specific, that if you want a good example or a good steak, that we've got one that's got the proper genetics, the proper breeding, the proper age to it, and the proper care to it, and cut, and to where 3 weeks later it's got the age, you take it home, you cut it, and it's going to be 100% satisfiable. And that's what we've tried to accomplish here. And like I tell my good friends that come by, you might pay a little bit more for another steak somewhere, but we can walk you through all the steps, because I almost know where every one of those things came from, whether it's R.A. Brown Ranch or Bob Tallman's ranch or my own place or whatever, because that's what we specialize in. We want people to know where it came from, and that's important to people now, especially after the COVID scenario. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, you make a great point that at the moment we're in since COVID has been that the story, people are interested in the story and they're willing to pay for that story.
Yes.
Which I believe is extremely important. One, that you're doing here, and it kind of ties all three of us here together as we do this podcast. But one, that's what you're doing here, is you're telling the story of the beef to folks who want to know about that. They want to be able to ask questions, because people are afraid of cooking beef. It's an expensive product.
Yeah.
But whenever they have someone to ask, like yourself, and come here to Camp Bowie at the meat board and be able to ask that question, be able to cook that right for their family, like that means a lot. Mm-hmm. And then Bob, you doing the same thing at Rodeo, changing the rodeo industry by telling more than just Michael Stevens from Alabama. You're telling the backstory. Mm-hmm. You're telling why he's wearing overalls today. You're telling why he came here, how long he's been, how long he's tried, and changed the rodeo announcing industry to a group of people who know less about rodeo than probably ever before in your lifetime. And then me, I like telling stories. I just like telling stories about ranching.
Well,
I think that's what brings us all together today.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story, I've been told. Somebody said that to me. We can't stretch the truth. Let's go back in the generations of R.A. Brown Land and Livestock, Throckmorton, Texas. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about two things. Don Ray mentioned it a moment ago, palatability. And let's talk about genetics and how one makes the other. Think about the genetics, and without getting into it too far, mm-hmm. Why do you need to know about genetics? Well, genetics in your own family will prove to you what you do.
Good point.
Genetics in cattle make a difference. If you've got a husband and wife that are both 6'6", pretty good chance you're going to have volleyball and basketball players.
Yeah.
All right? So if you're in the opposite side of that and turn those numbers around, you're going to have shorter cattle. What do tall cattle do against shorter cattle when it comes to the end result at 1,400 pounds to butcher? For hanging weight at that should be 800 to 900 pounds. Then you've got shrink, then you've got loss of bone. And people say, what do you do with all them bones? We'll give them to you if you want. For dog bones, use them for stew bones. If you don't know how to cook that way, Google it up. Everybody's got Google today. Mm-hmm. Use it. Go to Safari, go to Chrome, go to something, and put in your question. Somebody's going to answer you. Now, when it comes right down to cooking, that worries me a little bit, because if you're going to go outside the country, they cook things different for different reasons in different places. Mm-hmm. The next thing is, what do you do with leftovers? How you prepare them, how you wrap them, how you refrigerate them makes all the difference in that taste, in that palatability the next time. Could you take a bunch of cooked steaks and grind them into hamburgers? Sure you can. You could serve it and make tacos the next day. I don't suggest that, but I see ads on television today. They're taking fillets and grinding them up and making hamburgers. Why? Because they've been for sale so long, you've got to grind it up and use it for something. because it's not going to be as tender. Talk to me about genetics. Talk to me about marbling.
Well, the genetics is what I think what ranching's done a good job of over the past few generations is listening to the customer, listening to the guy who's selling the meat
Without
and
a
wanting to
doubt.
know what the customer wants. And what does the customer want today? You probably know better than I, but from what I understand, they want a juicy steak. They want it to taste good. They want it to be high marbled. Whether they know what, sometimes I think they want it lean, but our tastes, American taste buds tell us that we like the marbling. And I believe that the rancher rancher has done a good job of listening to that consumer and breeding cattle that, and we may have chased it a little too much towards the beef and forgot about our cows. There are some breeds that have done that a little bit to where we are extremely focused on the end product. And there's a reason that we have extremely high demand, and it's because it's good, and it's because the U.S. has some of the best beef in the world. But then the other part, I think, is that we have done a good job of telling the story. And when the truth is told, ranchers win. I believe that to be very true.
Very well said.
When the truth about how the cow works with the pasture, with the soil, and proving that pasture, and we can turn a piece of grass, we can turn that big old wolfy blue stem into a nice, juicy, marbled ribeye, into something that Americans and people all around the world love. And so that's why I love telling the story, because we don't have anything to hide. We're on the side of where when we tell the truth,
You can't hide.
we win. No, you can't hide.
You can't hide. So many people say today, I want grass-fed beef. Who taught them that? All cattle are grass-fed.
Yes.
Okay? I've got a 3-year-old cow, a 9-year-old cow, and a 13-year-old cow, and they have babies. Red, black, depending on how I'm breeding, because I breed for fall, so that my red cattle are 35% more tolerant to summer heat in Texas. It'll be 106 today out here, 109 with however they add all that stuff up, but it's actually only
feel.
about 96 degrees. The red cattle will be out grazing in the summertime. The black cattle are hunting shade or a tank to stand in for the day spa.
Very true. Very true.
So when you think about that, we go through all these things before you go to your favorite grocery store. Could be Brookshire's, could be Albertsons, it could be H-E-B, it could be Central Market, it could be United out west, it could be wherever you are, in Alabama or in Montana. I don't care. When you buy that piece of meat, respect what you have paid for, because it's a premium. And how do I know it's a premium? We just got through with $39 billion economic impact and having the World Cup soccer games here. What did they love? Our beef.
Yeah, they did.
Why did they like it? They even love Mexican restaurants and the beef that they serve it in because they got free chips and salsa before they had dinner.
Bob, I heard on TV they actually like beer too, because they ran out in several places.
I did hear that. too.
St. Louis, yeah, I know. Folks, there's so many ways to judge what Tucker and I do as ranchers. Don does as a rancher, but in this meat board restaurant in Fort Worth. Please remember one thing. Genetics that Tucker was just talking about creates marbling. We have EPDs, expected progeny development. And universities, whether it be Texas A&M, Texas Tech University to the north, OSU in Oklahoma at Stillwater. And you go to the University of Tennessee at Martin. You go every place. They've got beef classes, beef designed. What do you learn there? First thing you learn is how a cow and a bull mate. Then you learn about calving. Then you learn about feed. You learn about additives. I'm going back to my initial statement, grass-fed. Please, people, understand that cow, whether she's 3 or 13 or 18, eats grass when it's available. Spring, summer, and fall, she eats grass. She has a baby. She eats grass. The milk that goes out of that cow into that baby is grass-fed. When that baby is weaned at 8, 9, 10 months, 6 to 8 months, whatever, that baby has been raised on grass. That baby then goes to grass. Now, of course, in our beef business, we use anywhere from 60 to 90 days of finished feed. It's a 16 blend marketed feed that comes from LNC, Livestock Nutrition. You use the same people.
do.
Don knows exactly who they are in different parts of Texas where we live. And that 16 piece method puts everything in it. Nutrients positive. We are gluten free. We are, you name it, everything free in the world. I've had people buy our beef and say we are beef tolerant, can't eat it. And I said, okay, just try it. I had a lady who had been beef tolerant for 30 years in her life. Her and her husband saw him yesterday, Granbury, Texas. They buy one full beef a year. She eats it 3 days a week. They eat all of the things that go with it.
How about that?
That beef goes to all of their family members. She can't spell beef tolerant today.
You know, Bob, to that point, I think that's another reason why that this was important for me in my stage of life to do a butcher shop and with my partners and everything, so we could explain not just the live end, not just what you just went through, but when they walk up to a counter and they talk about where did this come from, tell me about it, we can do that. And how do we cook it? And that's what I wanted to get across here. We train everybody here to when somebody comes in and says, how do I cook this brisket? Then we have an answer for it, or we have a sheet that says cook it like this. Because I remember
Education.
way before this came about, we would be at a retail store, and I won't mention any names, but I'd be shopping with my wife, and she'd go to aisle 6, and I'd always go straight to the meat counter so I could go see what they've done, because that's all I've seen in my life for 50 years. And I see, okay, they're rotating it down to the 50% offside. That's where I go shop. But I would hear some other person there's trying to tell a lady, what to do or what cut of beef to take home. And I would start to go, and my wife would look at me and go, don't even think about it. And I would, because I wanted to go help the guy or the gal, whatever. So I thought, well, I think I'll just do this when we open our own stop. And that's kind of what we want to specialize here, is we circle our circle around. We want to educate the people that come in about the beef on that wall in there. And that's why we tied it all together. So we have classes where we're setting in here of how to trim a brisket, answering questions of what's a Denver steak. Well, that's a really good steak that a chef designed 10, 12, 15 years ago, pulled it out of the chuck where it used to be in that package of ground beef because we didn't know what it was. So we ground it 15 years ago.
In a few minutes, can you bring me a tomahawk, a Denver maybe? Can you bring me that
I
brisket?
will step out and I'll go make that happen.
4 center cut prime fillets, 2 ribeyes, and a Denver steak, which is the newer one we were talking about later.
That's right.
And then you just brought in some meat sticks, which seem to be a new phenomenon, relatively new, that make it easy for people to take beef with them.
Well, basically cold and or could be heated. I've seen people cut them up and put them in tacos.
Yeah.
I'm just proud that we can get to do those because that could be flank. It could be ribeye. And depending on how you order that kind of stuff, those are expensive, but they're fulfilling. And it's 100% beef, no additives.
No.
Don't have probably 5% fat in them?
Pretty clse to that,
So if
maybe
you're
8,
on a
10,
high protein
something.
diet, and people say, well, how can I do that? I'll turn the label around backwards. Just 3T Angus beef, Bullville, Texas. The thing with it is, and you can see it in the coloring, it might be a little fat in one of those, but healthy.
Right.
But so is everything else on here.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And we kind of mentioned it off mic earlier, but what you sell the most would be, or like the most sought after cut for your place.
Correct.
Would be which?
This fillet, right?
The 4 cup fillet.
Four cuts
Those 4.
there. That is the high selling steak we have here, which tells you the clientele, not just the clientele, but they come back for that. They know that that's 100% edible and it's a premium piece of meat, just like off this wall, so to speak. The
lot of people don't understand. Yes, you can smoke it. Okay? Yes, you can barbecue it if you know how to handle your barbecue. Yes, you can do the same with all of these. I suggest that these, you ever heard of bacon?
I love me some bacon.
Yeah, okay. How do you cook bacon? You fry it. You do not fry this cut of meat.
Nope.
Okay. Now you may take it in a hot frying pan. If you've got a frying pan that's got a copper bottom in it, and you make it hot, sear it. Why do you sear it? It holds the juice and the meat inside. Sear it all the way around. Sear it on both sides. Don't sear this. This is a Denver, okay? It's very reasonable in price to everything else that we're looking at on this in any supermarket, in any other place. This needs to be smoked. It will start it. And then if you've got a Traeger, I don't care, I'm a big gas guy because I don't chop mesquite wood anymore. And then finish it on a hot flame. And this should be pink, warm in the middle. It should have a crust on it from its own juices on the outside. And what would you cook this in? What would you cook it in, Chef?
Cast iron, stainless steel.
Yep.
Copper
A
bottom.
nice flat top, like you said, a copper bottom.
Yep.
Anything that's a high heat transfer.
What's your favorite additive to cook any and all of this meat in?
Got to be a hex clad or stainless steel.
Butter?
Oh, additive.
Additive.
No, I like tallow. I like to start it in tallow.
Cook it in tallow.
And then finish the butter. I don't
Grab
wanna
me a
burn my butter.
jar of that tallow. I'm going to show you two things to do with it.
That's another thing, speaking of that, is that many years ago, tallow was discarded, in these packing houses I was involved in, and it was rendered somewhere else. But now, this is all rendered off of those type cuts of beef, and you can see the color of it. And Hayden knows what he's doing there. He cooks it down and then puts it in the jars, and we sell it for people to do what he just said, and that is puts them in a skillet and sear it like that.
How much of this do you sell for people to cook with? And how much of it do you sell? Now, I'm going to have to buy this because I'm opening it. And from a sanitary standpoint,
Yes.
what's the other thing that people use this for today that's more important to a lot of people than I've got it and should use it?
Hand cream, face cream. People will put it in hair gel. There's a lot of buzz going on with the beef tallow these days.
Lots of things. Looking good, Bob.
Yeah. Be careful at 4 or 5 o'clock. If you're not careful and you're out in the sun, it might turn a little rancid.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you might want to wipe it
Oh,
off.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding, of course.
Well, I just want people to know that the industry of the beef business, or the beef industry, has 8,000 ways to profit for you and your family, not just at the dinner table.
I was talking to Justin McKee today on the way
My
up here.
hero.
I was talking, and he said the same thing about you. And he said you'll have to ask him about being raised, where he was raised and the people he was around. And I'd like to go there.
I'm 22 years from 100. About 2 months from now, I'll be 79. I'm excited to be 80, because then I can say I'm less than 20 years from being 100.
There you go.
And I've told everybody after the last 6 months I've lived with a little adventure and called E. coli. I still have all my body parts thanks to Jesus Christ, my wife, doctors, nurses, and friends that have been driving me around for 177 days. I was raised on what you would call a buckaroo camp ranch outfit in Orvada, Nevada. 55 miles on Highway 395, then 80 years ago was a gravel road. Buckaroos got paid $2 a day. The school teacher was one of my dad's buckaroos. She was one of my dad's buckaroos. Her name was Tilly Boynton. She's in her mid-90s. Amazing lady. Her sister, siblings, absolute phenomenal people. I learned standing in a number 2 wash tub in front of a old wood stove that my Italian mother and grandmother came through Ellis Island in 1911. In 1896, my great-great-uncle, who I showed you pictures of today in the willow corrals at Denio, Nevada, branding 350, 400-pound Hereford calves. That was my upbringing. When I didn't go to kindergarten because we only had one teacher, one-room schoolhouse, when the bus ran. And I learned at a very early age no waste. And my mother and my grandmother and my dad milked 3 cows a day. So we had all the milk we needed, made all the cream that was available to it. And when we had no refrigeration because no electricity, when you kill a beef and hung it up, cheesecloth, in the summertime you could do it in a cellar that was about 3 foot deep in the bottom of the house when the creek wasn't up because the water had come up in it, and you'd hang it in cheesecloth, and when you butchered a steer, an old heifer, an old cow, whatever it was, you ate it all. Because, and when it got some penicillin on it, some of that green stuff, you scraped it off. It's not going to hurt you. Being raised in that environment, I was 11 when we moved to town. I didn't know how to ride a bicycle. I'd never played marbles. The only thing we did was kick the can and Annie and I over in a one-room schoolhouse. Our entertainment was a windmill that we used to get up on, 2 people, 2 kids, and you'd hold on to his hands or her hands, and you took your feet in, the teacher would turn that bugger loose, and around it'd go. That was my first carnival.
Nice.
Wow.
That's wrong. That's what's wrong with me today, people say.
Is that it?
I've lived life so far beyond life. But I knew in an old Chevrolet truck that my grandmother used to haul me 55 miles on Highway 395 to Winnemucca. What an awesome place. To go to church. I was baptized in that church, went to catechism in that church, was married in that church 58 years ago come January. That church still stands today. What a life.
Yeah.
I was a little guy, I wasn't very big, so I didn't play football. I did for 3 days in high school. All my friends that weighed 200 pounds and I weighed 105 ran over the top of me and beat me to death, so I quit the football. I told that coach what he could do with the mouthpiece and that helmet if it fit. I went on in life for about 2 years when we first moved to town, and in the summertime I went back to the ranch. I think it paid $6 or $8 a day then to be a buckaroo, and paid $10 a day to be a farmer. So I went to be a farmer. Anybody could ride a horse and follow them old cows around the way I was raised. I loved the tractors, power. And John Deere tractor in those days, this had been 1957 to 1960, was nothing fancy. Farmalls and John Deeres, that's what everybody had. Then Case come along, and they still make a great tractor today.
With the 2 little tires in the front, the tricycle tires.
You had to be careful because if it was a V-front tire, there was one thing you did, you never put a cheat handle on it like a steering wheel and do it, because they'd jump and turn, and that tire and those tires would turn, break your hands. But if you had a hold of the steering wheel, you could let it spin and back that tractor up and get it started again. I learned to be a farmer. I already knew how to be a cowboy. I knew what cows were. Cows had calves, calves went to market. Cows got bred, had more calves, they went to market. In 1952 and 53, in the Great Drought, and the first time that we had any diseases that came from outside the country, my dad, I remember him telling stories to sell a Hereford cow and a calf for $9.
Wow.
$9.
That was in 1950?
1952, 53,
$9.
51.
Wow.
Don't tell me about marketability. If you had it, they wanted it, but you had to pay the price that people could afford. Today, a cow and a calf will bring $6,000. Depending on the breed, they might bring more. Registered cattle, R.A. Browns, what you do, the Cox Ranch, my neighbors at Peaster, Texas, sell bulls today for $20,000, $30,000, and $40,000. Why? Genetics. You talked about it earlier. You want the most powerful semen in the world? What do I do at your house? I go into your dad's semen tank and AI those cows and follow them with one of your red bulls on my red cattle Cox Ranch, black bulls on black cattle.
Mm-hmm.
When you were raised where I was, a cow was something that you fell asleep falling behind on a horse. I didn't have a pony, never had a hackney pony. We rode big horses, and they tied our stirrups down underneath them. Because if a horse went to bucking in the middle of the day with you, or when the first time you got on him, you didn't lose your stirrups. I've got friends today, the Tiptons, the McCurkey-Agas, the Monteros, that all go with that picture that I showed you in Humboldt County, Nevada. My good friend Bud Force just produced a movie called Cowboys. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's in 7 states, from Montana all down through the west, clear into Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. I highly suggest you watch this movie. 10,000 cattle on 100,000 acres. It's about cowboys. It's about their lifestyle. It's about wives that'll move 4.5 hours from town and raise 2 kids with rattlesnakes in the yard, and nobody was worried about it. It's a lifestyle that none of us in the city in Fort Worth today on pavement can understand if you hadn't came from that type of environment. I was 4 years old, and my dad hauled my mom and I to Elko, Nevada, about a 4-hour in an old car, whatever it was, Ford or Chevrolet, to go to the rodeo so my mom could see Casey Tibbs.
Wow.
Became a great friend later in life to my wife, Kristen, and I. Ride a bucking horse. And it was the first time that I ever saw a man, met my mother, and he tipped his hat to her and shook her hand, kissed her hand. I've never forgot him.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 75 years ago, 74 years ago,
Wow.
at that age. I tip my hat to all the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You get in an elevator, you take your hat off if a lady steps in. You open a door for a lady. That's what you learn in that lifestyle. Have I ever been in a survival mode? Oh, hell yes. Have I ever been to New York? 50 times. I've worked in 44 states, 5 provinces of Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico.
Wow.
Every place I went, I was a cowboy. Today, I'm a cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud to say I wear an American hat, I wear Justin boots, I wear Fenolio boots, and I wear tennis shoes. Why? They're more comfortable.
I do like some tennis shoes.
I don't ride horses anymore.
Yeah.
But my daughter, Nicole, 51 years old, with my twin kids and my grandson here today, 18 years old, have all ridden a saddle that I rode when I was a kid. It sits in their trophy room.
Oh, cool.
It's
Yeah,
120 years old. It's been remodeled about 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
It's got a pink full quill ostrich seat in it.
Wow.
And all the makers that have worked it over, Ken Tipton and Tips in Winnemucca, Nevada, from where it was made originally at the J.M. Capriola Company in Elko, Nevada. Still the same rigging in it, single rigging, no back cinch. It's still got the same rawhide on it that when you dallied a leather rope called riatas, it's an old Mexican tradition, and they hand braided them 30, 40, 50, 60 foot long. And you'd rope something, you'd just dally, and you'd let that rope slide, and the smoke would boil because you did not stop them like we do with a nylon or a grass rope today and stop livestock dead in their tracks. So you let it slide, you brought those cattle around. Yeah, I got to be a rodeo cowboy, but what rodeo cowboy taught me was I was small, I wasn't very big, I didn't have the good horses everybody else had, and so I found out I could tell stories about my friends. Then they paid me
Imagine that.
$100 a performance when I started.
Where was that at?
Fallon, Nevada.
Fallon, Nevada.
Yeah.
I've heard it said that rodeoing's pretty cool, but the announcer gets paid every time.
Yep. And the announcer doesn't pay any entry fees.
And no entry.
And I didn't have to saddle any old sweaty horses or feed them, because the first horses I ever fed were horse mules, big mules, stand 16 hands. And in a barn picture that I saw of a ranch that I was raised on the other day, my dad had like 40 of them. And all the hay we cut was a sickle bar mower pulled by 1, 2, or 3 horse mules. And my job when I was 4 or 5 years old, big enough to pull one, 50-pound sack of grain, and I had a coffee can, and I'd put that grain in every one of those grain boxes in those walk-ins, tie-ups, where those mules went, and they would bite and strike at you and squeal and holler, and then they'd take them out and harness them and put them on a sickle bar mower, and that mower's 6, 8 foot wide. You don't see many 10-foot sickle bar mowers. And we shocked hay with old Model T cars in reverse. And I rode on a backward seat. For my mom drove a rake, dump rakes, catch hay in a windrow and bring that hay. And when it got to a line, which was a windrow that always went towards the derrick where that haystack was going to be. And you moved everything with horse mules.
Yeah.
And when I got to there, my job was to jerk that lever and make sure that that windrow stayed straight, so when that guy's driving that old Model A backwards in reverse, he could shock that hay with a front-end buck rake on it, and they'd run those hays into shocks. And then around that stack, it'd be an area for a stack yard, mules would pull in a circle. And what it did, it let you swing that out, and you had a grapple that went out, and they'd grab that shock of hay and pick it up. The mules would turn in reverse, go back around the other way, bring that hay out over a stack, and turn it loose. My dad and about 5 or 6 Paiute Indians, because we were raised on the border of the Paiute Indian Reservation, would stack that hay. In the wintertime, you'd pitch that hay off that stack onto a wagon that didn't have the wheels on it you used in the summer, and it had skids on it. And I can remember standing behind the headboard down in that hay where it was nice and warm with a team of horses pulling that, big draft horses, pull that hay, and my dad and other people, they'd pitch that hay off. People don't understand what the Native Americans have done. I'm a fan in part. When I went to first grade, my mother was scared to death because I was very well versed in 3 languages. English, Paiute, some Italian, and profanity. Because that's what I heard. That's how I was raised.
Yeah.
It was tough. When we sat down for breakfast, there'd be 15 men at that table. My mother and my grandmother would make fresh bread every day.
Wow.
And butter. And they'd go on that table. Whatever we cooked, we always had hogs, so we slopped them. So there was always bacon and eggs, lots of chickens. That's the start of my lifestyle.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
And then I went to New York.
left Nevada to New York.
No. Later in life.
Okay.
And working in TV in the
Okay.
voice business.
Yeah.
First time I went to New York, 11
Was that before rodeo that you got?
No, it was rodeo had already started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
First rodeo I went to, I was up in the calf roping or the team roping and entered in the bucking horse riding, and this horse like that killed me. I was scared to death of him as much as he was of me. And I was backed in the box getting ready to rope, and I told Dick Hempstead, the rodeo producer, I told him, I said, my God, can't you help that lady up there announcing this rodeo? Billy Garnick was her name, and her husband's name was Bill. They owned the sale barn in Fallon, Nevada. And she was just wandering around saying names and stuff. And he said, well, when you get done roping, tie your horse up. Go up there and help her. I said, okay. So I did. The next day, I went up and helped her again. I thought, this is fun. Then I had to miss 2 days at this rodeo because we went to Bend, Oregon to another rodeo, came back, and He said, you go up there and help her tonight. And I said, okay. So I did. I just went to telling stories. When it was over, he gave me $300.
Ooh.
My entry fees to go to both them rodeos probably wasn't more than about $250. Gas cost 30 cents a gallon. I thought, my God, $100. Wow. I had 2 other jobs. I was a brakeman on the Western Pacific Railroad. Went from Salt Lake City to Oakland, California. And I worked for my dad in the lumber yard, which he bought when he moved off the ranch when I was 10, 11 years old. I thought there'll never be another poor day. I made $100 today. Thanks to my wife and my father-in-law, Harris Goodrich, I got in the rodeo business. Give it all up. The only thing I really stayed with, I tried to rope and keep doing things, but I stayed with the railroad. My first union, Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen, at the age of 16, got on the extra board and went to work. So in between college at Cal Poly in 1966 and 67, I'd run to Stockton, California, up north, get on a train, take it to Portola, take it to Winnemucca, turn around, come back, get my pickup, drive to college. I don't know many people that have had the opportunities that I've had.
Yeah.
But from every one of them, I made a new set of friends. In between a lot of that stuff, when I was in high school, I was a brakeman on the Western Pacific, and I drove truck for the Southern Pacific, so I got another union and became a truck driver. Not many kids before 18 ever belonged to 2 major unions.
Yeah.
When you think about the Teamsters and the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen. And then all I wanted to be was a cowboy. So it just kept coming. It just kept coming. But I knew I wasn't going to be Larry Mahan or Jim Shoulders. I wasn't going to be a Ty Murray like we've had in the past years. All these are my heroes. Roy Coopers, the Joe Beavers, the Dean Olivers that I met when I was 12 years old.
Can you imagine the list of guys you just mentioned that we all at this stage, even in my life, go back and, wow, I would have loved to have been any one of those guys, but they're amazing. And I watch them every time they come on the TV with the rodeo. And you were walking around with them.
They gave me the stories.
Wow. That's just.
Where'd you learn to tell those stories? I lived them.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, great point.
I like that.
Some the authenticity.
Yeah. I didn't intend to ever be in the boxed beef business like you and I are in today, like you
Sure.
sell our beef in this store.
Yes.
It just worked out. It's God's will, not mine. I might have had an idea, but it's His will to have you become proficient at it and go on. When we started selling beef, we sold it for $4 a pound. Now we sell it for $7. Why? Price of diesel is $5 a gallon, and the cost of getting my high dollar feed brought to me. We'll only run 100 cows. I could run 150, but run 100 cows, that gives me plenty of calves to produce. The market today creates us, you and I, and you with your cattle, even on the ranches you own today. The market makes us do what we do and dependent on it. But who is the number one enemy and the number one friend we have? Mother Nature.
The weather. Oh, for sure.
So if you don't learn how to raise grass, wheat, whatever, sorghum, whether it be alfalfa hay, one of my best friends, and you know him, Dan Sawyer at Clarendon in Donnelly County, Texas, out where Clarendon College rodeo team is. 22,000 acres, they raise 5 kinds of hay 10 months out of the year. Unbelievable. But there, how do you make genetics work? If you've got genetics and you use that type of feed, if you buy it, trade for it, whatever, and you put that good food into it, it's the same thing as taking a kid in high school football into a training camp. Feed him right, high protein in college. It gets bigger, it gets better in the ranks of the amateurs and then to the pros. I'm a baseball fan. I love the Texas Rangers. And when you take what they do to the young people, start training them at 6, 7, 8 years old to have a career in baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Been a hockey fan forever because I spent so much time in Canada. Nutrition. That comes back to genetics in the beef business, in the hog business, in the chicken business, in the shrimp business. The first time I ever saw artificial insemination was in shrimp off the Gulf Coast
Really?
of Louisiana. And I learned it because of my involvement at the Houston Rodeo. And all these people that showed all these fancy cattle. And then I found out that they were AI cattle. People have been talking about AI for a long time now. I saw it before it was ever thought of in artificial insemination, embryo transfer, everything your dad does. And I love to go spend time with him because he's brilliant at it, because he has given up a social life. First time I ever met him as a president of the FFA.
I'll be dang.
Watched him speak. And I knew then that I wanted to follow Donald Brown. He was 30 years young, 20 years younger than me. How old's your dad?
57, 58.
Yep, there you go. 20 years younger than me. But I knew that that kid in that blue coat was going to teach me something some point in my life. And here we are, 40 years later, we joined hands. You were a pup the first time I ever saw you. Now you got pups.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a term for kids, okay?
Well, I need to jump into a couple of the segments we got. And one of these is called the Ag Gear Hot Seat, which is the shirts I wear. Been working with Ag Gear for like 5 years, smaller company. And same with like Fenolios. I love working with smaller family companies.
Sure.
And we call it the Ag Gear Hot Seat. And we allow people to comment some questions. I get to ask them, and sometimes the seat gets hot, and because you're not wearing ag gear, the seat might get a little hot. But I've got a couple good questions for you, and we'll run through these. We'll run through these relatively quick. We'll go to this first question from Randy. Randy had the thought on the border opening. I wanted to do that while we still had that here. And by what Randy means there is that, 3-4 days ago, they just announced that they would do, in 30 days, they were going to open up the U.S.-Mexico border for cattle to come back in, which they closed probably a year and a half ago.
It's been off and on for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I am not a politician, of which someday I'm going to be on your campaign team
Uh-oh.
when we run you through the ranks to get you to be the governor of the state of Texas.
Oh, goodness.
I'll second that. Go ahead.
And to address the question, being neutral in politics, we today as Americans import a multitude of products in the food industry. A lot of it is because we can't raise it. Okay? We export a multitude of products because we can, and we have land. They don't cover it all up with rooftops. I'll get to that point in a minute. We have land available, and at the moment, we have water. Even in a drought area where we are right now in northwest Texas, we're in a drought. When did that drought start? The last time it rained. When will that drought be broken? The next time it rains. People don't understand that if you've got 100 cows, 1,000 cows, or 10,000 cows. My great hero, Pete Bonds, in the Bonds Ranch right up here at Saginaw, Texas, has run cattle in Canada, Mexico, and America all at the same time for years. The man is a walking institution of knowledge about import and export. Importing cattle from Mexico to me is great. Number one, you're a team roper, so am I, and so is my grandson. We need those horn Corriente steers because they're tougher, live on a handful of weeds a week in diesel smoke, And the team roping industry today is $1 billion industry.
It has exploded.
Without a doubt.
It's $1 trillion industry in the import and export of beef.
And growing, matter of fact, too. So.
Wow.
I'm going to go back to COVID. We all did good before COVID. COVID to me was a disaster, but it was an asset in my life. And when you think about it and what we did, we needed more beef than we could possibly raise in America. And we got 2 places to bring it from. And I have followed a lot of trucks out of Canada, and I have seen a lot of cattle and been to the crossings in 2 or 3 places in Mexico. I want to take you back to Charles Goodnight and the Goodnight Trail and all those others. Where did they come from? Mexico. Canada remembers cold in the winter, so they feed a lot of cattle, but they're still fine, and they're great cattle, mostly Charolais. Now some Angus have crossed into that. 200 years ago, black cowboys, did you hear me? Black cowboys and Mexican charros brought the cattle out of Mexico for Charles Goodnight to buy. And they drove them to the railheads right here at Fort Worth to Swift Packing, somebody you've done business with for a long time.
Yes.
Why were the cowboys who they were? They were the most available. They were the toughest. They didn't care about what kind of hat they wore, what kind of shoes or boots they wore, what kind of saddles they rode. They were tough times. And they make movies about that and dress it up with guns and gunfire and pretty girls and whiskey drinking and all that stuff. I guess that happened. I don't know. I wasn't there. To think about import and export, if you watch the stock market and the S&P market, you will see about something today called oil. We in Texas are prevalent. Within 20 years, the state of Texas will be able to furnish enough energy of electricity, oil and gas, for 20 other states. Why? Because we have the natural resource. Why? Because we have the cattle. Why? Because we have the land. It's the largest land mass of all 52 states in the country. We have the hill country is rock raised cattle because the grass that comes out of there is stout. We have South Texas and the King Ranch. Why do they raise cattle? They raise Brahman influence cattle because they can stand the heat and the bugs. Mexico is a land of enchantment. It's absolutely beautiful. But so is Wisconsin. It just gets colder up there in the wintertime, so they change the, dominant factor of how you live. Mm-hmm. But they still eat beef. Does some of that go from Mexico into Wisconsin, Maine, New Jersey, New York? Yes. Where predominantly do most of those cattle go when they cross the line? Depending on the end result use of every one of those breeds of cattle that come out of Mexico, there's a home and very little waste. They go into the beef industry and into sub-parts of our society that will use that beef. We export beef to Mexico. We export beef to Argentina. I see ads today that Riverbend Ranch. God, that's beautiful up there in Idaho and Wyoming. And you talk about what they do with beef, it all started long before that ranch ever existed. Because Mexican charros, cowboys, panchos, they all came across the border. Pancho Villa, what did he do? He robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. Pretty good guy. But he punched a few cows. Mm. And you've heard the old story, sorry, Mom, I haven't written, but I've been punching cows and it broke my fist.
Yeah.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. So that's my story about Mexico.
Yeah.
If the United States Department of Agriculture does what they're supposed to do, they will guard those cattle that come from there. Everybody says, well, they got flies, they got worms, they got this, they got that. Yep. We are smart as American ranchers and farmers. We're not going to allow that stuff to infiltrate into the country. There are less cases of a lot of that happening right now than there ever has been in history. Now, where does that come from? That's the guardian angel called the United States Department of Agriculture. Mm-hmm. You and I butcher our calves, the three of us all do, with a USDA sticker on it that says when that steer, calf, cow, whatever, goes to market to the process plant, we have inspectors. They do not let one head of any of those cattle go in front of them, and if they have a cull or something that's wrong with one, they pull them out. Okay? Right. Got to make dog food someplace. It's not going to hurt the dog any.
Nope.
But they don't want that beef in consumption. Randy, I hope that answers your question.
Got another question here, a little less serious. Two of them. One from Quincy that says, "How would you describe your hat shape?" Just like this.
Yep. Cowboy.
Well, your hat is that a 4.5 or 5 inch brim?
4.5.
I think this is a 4.5. I wear a cattleman top because it's standard, and I put a little bend in the front of it. My grandkids call it put a little bronc in my hat, Grandpa.
A little bronc in it.
And cowboy hats today are meant to signal people. Keith Mundy, Stan Redding, all my people at American Hats, they can't make enough hats fast enough. And them doggone soccer players and soccer fans bought up all the inventory and drank all the beer we had in America. And so they left here with a whole lot of them on. And I've wore other brands of hats over the years, but I've always wore a hat with a little bronc in it. My grandfather was a statesman, and he wore a snap brim John B. Stetson, little short brim. Mm-hmm. And my dad wore one. I have one, and I'm going to graduate to one someday because it's family history. It's kind of like Michael wearing bib overalls today because his grandfather passed yesterday, and he's doing a tribute to him. Wow. And his grandpa wore bib overalls. Mm-hmm. Well, I got a lot of friends in Poolville, Texas, and Parker County that wear bib overalls. Why? Because their parents wore bib overalls, women as well as men. Okay? I got a little bronc in me, and I got a lot more years to prove that I like to buck them and buck them hard. So that's kind of where the dip comes from.
Yeah.
The next thing comes is the first time you and I are out in a rainstorm, we grab that hat. So many people today get a hat and they set it down like that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Why? The luck of your life is inside your hat. Turn it upside down. The other thing is it'll flatten out. Some people wear a hat 5 days a year to go to the rodeo at Houston or at Fort Worth. Okay? They take it home, and where they put it? In a closet, flat down. Closet's got a lot of heat in it at the top of it. They flatten out. That's one thing I can tell you about American hats. You can lay one flat down, it'll keep its shape. Mm-hmm. But it costs more because we put more into them in better pelts.
Yeah, so true. Well, that was the Ag Gear hot seat. So thanks, Ag Gear. Use discount code Tucker Brown. Get 20% off of the Ag Gear shirts I've been wearing for years. And then I've got, this takes me to my next favorite segment. It's called the Can-Am side-by-side comparison. We drive Can-Am at the ranch. I don't know what we did. I don't know what you did before side-by-sides, but we use them all the time.
We do too. I drive Kubotas.
All the time. I've never heard of them.
It's just
Kubota. Ellis Equipment, 1313 Fort Worth Highway, Weatherford, Texas.
It's like you've done that commercial before.
Yes, sir.
So the Can-Am side-by-side comparison is
They're
what
beautiful.
we call this. And I would love for you to help me, or for you to describe the difference side by side. You've announced ranch rodeos, you've announced cowboy rodeos, athletes rodeos. What's the side by side comparison? Is there a difference? Is there not?
Can-Am probably builds the biggest, fastest side-by-side in the world. On a ranch today, when we get in these vehicles, because Mine lights up like a Christmas tree at night. It's road ready. So are yours. And yours will run 40 mile an hour. Mine will run 28 to 30. The difference between a Can-Am, between a Kubota, and, I mean, you've got to go to Polaris. You've got to give all these people a shot at that. They were made originally. I had a John Deere Gator one time, but it was too slow, too bulky. It was hard to maneuver around in. And you get in the pasture with them, they'll bottom out. Well, they've changed them, and now they're all running like the Can-Ams that you like. I like the Kubota because it's all metal. And we probably put 2,000 hours a year on those vehicles.
All the time.
And we know where to trade them in, where to go get a new one, what we want on them. We want them high enough to where you got a pickup with a catalytic converter. You pull out in tall grass, you're going to start a fire. That's all there is to it. A 1-ton truck's going to be higher and it's going to be safer. What do you need to do? You need quick access. Step in it, boom, away you go. Are we chasing cows? Yeah, they chase cows on them. I don't recommend it. It's better with a horse because you got a horse, you go slow. You don't need to chase a cow unless you make her run. And if she's totally crazy and runs when you show up in the pasture, you better get rid of her. You tag calves in them. You rope out of them. You haul feed to them. And I see people with a trip hopper on them, and they feed 1,000 cows in a day. In the wintertime, you can get one now with sides on it. You get air conditioning, get a heater. You can get them with a GPS on them that'll give you a map of what you want to do. Then you see 3 of them on a big trailer, and they're going west because they got a hunting lease.
Oh, yeah.
I-20 West in a few months is just
It's unbelievable.
bumper to bumper.
Same thing in Florida.
Yeah.
Same thing in Wisconsin. Same thing in Montana. 2-wheel drive, it's going to have its end. You get 4 foot of snow in Baker City, Oregon, where I used to live, you better either have something to break that snow or get rid of it, windrow it with big tractors and front end loaders on them, and a side-by-side without sides on it and a heater in it. You're going to freeze to death at 40 below when the wind's blowing.
Right.
I love Can-Ams. They cost $10,000 more than a Kubota, so I'm going to stay with Kubota. But I've been with Kubota for almost 40 years.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you? And on, yeah, I love the side-by-sides. On, could you compare for me, because you've done Fort Worth for how many years now, announcing Fort Worth?
50.
50 years.
Yeah.
And you've announced the WRCA finals and other ranch rodeos for probably maybe even more.
10, 20, 30.
Okay. That's crazy that 10, 30, I don't know, somewhere there. But how would
I'm
you
blessed.
Is there a difference between announcing ranch rodeos and announcing regular rodeos?
Oh, yeah. You have a favorite for a reason. What they do at Wichita Falls at the Ranch Rodeo, what they do in Elko, Nevada at the Ranch Rodeo, at Jordan Valley with the Big Loop contest, which is a glorified ranch rodeo, and the Big Loop horse roping contest, is different than what we do at Abilene in the spring. Okay, you can't imagine when 4,000 people will gather on the Taylor Telecom Arena floor to watch it, and or in the parking lots where they have, you live tailgating. All these ranches come to town, all the people bring their kids, and the bit and spur show that goes on at Abilene is unbelievable. The bit and spur show and what they do with the ranch rodeo you're talking about at Amarillo in November. Totally different than what we do with the Invitational Ranch Rodeo at Fort Worth during the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. Now, I retired at Fort Worth at 50 years. Anthony Lucia and Garrett Urigan take that spot, and they're going to do a masterful job. Are they going to do it the way I did it? Hell no. They're young guys. They weren't ranch raised. They're not going to have the stories that I have to tell. So now I'm involved in the production and announcing the rodeo with Ben Clements in the Will Rogers Arena, where I started 50 years ago with the college rodeo. College rodeo? They have rodeos in college? Unbelievable. The National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association today support 185 universities that have rodeo teams. The high school rodeo system that my kids just finished with in District 3, which is as tough as the NFR in Vegas. Okay. Why? We got a lot of kids in rodeo business in Texas. They got a lot in New Mexico. They got a bunch in Montana. But they don't have the opportunity weather-wise in a lot of these places. And now with these rodeo teams, Johnny Emmons has put together, how many has he got? 90 kids in that program, Kenyon? Yeah, like 90 kids.
Wow.
Okay. It's October 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the College Rodeo in Weatherford. The College Rodeo is going to be in Abilene 3 days before the West Texas Fair and Rodeo. Then we have San Angelo with the big tripping and the roping ahead of the Fiesta. We have a college rodeo there. I, in 1966, had my dues paid to go to Sul Ross, Alpine, Texas. Had a girlfriend talk me out of it. I don't regret it, but my life would have been different if I'd have moved to Texas in 1966 instead of full-time in 1990 after my daughter was in college rodeo at Bozeman, Montana. All of these kinds of things, if you'll think about the swirl, since I was a little kid drawing pictures in the dirt where I was raised about being a cowboy, would change. There's kids drawing pictures and putting lines in it, and they want to play football. There's guys got a line for a 2-point line, a 3-point line, or the different than the blue line in hockey. Different than a kid that wants to drive a race car because his family is a NASCAR family. Different than a kid, whatever he sees and it intrigues him or her, that's what they want to do. Utilize what you're given. It's called life. Go for it. I don't care if you want to be a mortician. Be the best mortician you can be.
What did you say about time earlier?
Time is a non-renewable natural resource. If you waste yesterday, an hour, and an hour today, a month from now you will have wasted a week. I don't mind taking a nap in the afternoon if you're tired. Go to bed at night, get a good night's sleep, get your ass out of bed in the morning and do something. Make a hand. John Wayne said it in the movie The Cowboys. Burning daylight, boys. Saddle up. Let's go. John Wayne and Elvis are two people that I never got to meet, and I was within, from here to that front door, away from them.
Oh, wow.
Bigger than life people. I used to lease a part of a ranch in Oregon that belonged to John Wayne. And the intrigue of that, when I went on that property, made me behave different. And I've leased ranches all over the West and the Northwest. The intrigue of who was there before me, my family came here in 1896 and 1911, on my mother's side of the family, my dad's side of the family, which were crackers, come out of Florida and Caribou, Wisconsin. My grandfather was the governor of the state of Nevada in 1938 to 1941 as a Republican. Switched to the Democrat Party. I've been raised in politics and got beat, became the lieutenant governor, And I lived with all of that era of type of people and politicians. I'm not afraid of them, but I went, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I ain't tough enough. You got to be tough, Governor. You got to be tough. For those of you that just joined the podcast, I am running Tucker Brown. Maybe we'll start as a House of Representatives and take you to the Senate and get you a congressman job someday and come back and be the governor of Texas. What do you
I
want to do?
support that too, by the way. So.
Don Ray seconds that. What do you want to do? Whatever you do, do it quickly. Don't waste the time thinking about it.
Point.
Get out there. Tell somebody you want to do it. Somebody is going to listen to your story. Today is less than I used to, but between radio, television, the ads that I do, and the rodeo that I do, and other events that are televised, I reach about 6 million people a day. Now, when you record something, as this is, I'm going to reach somebody else when this podcast is over because they'll come back. Number 80 is what we're doing, right?
Number 80.
Wow.
Somebody's going to come back and listen to number 80. Jordan Jo Hollabaugh, who is my favorite lady. She does all my social media. So.
Oh, nice.
But she's my favorite lady in the broadcast world. Pam Minnick.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I've known Pam Minnick since she was 16 years old.
She's a legend.
Legend, yeah.
Miss Fort Worth. She is
Quite
a
a
legend
legend.
at her young
Yes.
age. Billy Minnick was the first man, her husband, that ever brought me to Texas, took me to Vernon, to the Santa Rosa Roundup.
Oh, yeah.
It was my first Baptist revival I ever went to.
Wow.
I learned something. Don't raise your hand if you're just make-believe Jesus.
Good point.
Talking to, it reminds me, talking to Justin McKee this morning on the way up, he said, I said, do you have anything to, like, about his life or how he does rodeo? He's, oh, my. Yes. Like, you can just hear it. I'm sure you can hear the way he says it. Oh, my, yes. Bob, my hero, literally like you just said earlier, he's like, my hero. He said, changed rodeo from just saying who they were or just saying where they were from to telling who they were.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you're announcing rodeos, and I think a lot of that is maybe not known because people are just ignorant and not knowing how much work goes into preparing to announce a rodeo. What does that look like for you? All those stories. You didn't just Google them 20 years ago.
No, they aren't there. You either lived it and,
Right.
know it. You can't make it up. Today, the rodeo business has become stats. You ought to meet Justin's daddy. Justin McKee jumped up here about 5 years ago, and it's like somebody injected him with energy. Justin McKee has traded thousands of cattle. He's a cowman. He plays a futures market. Justin McKee has the stories, and he's finally learned how to start telling them. He and I both have a belief that people buy a ticket to a rodeo, ranch rodeo, kids rodeo, whatever, and they want to be entertained, educated by how it works, not the stats on what happened last week. The judging system has changed, so when you tell somebody that he was 89 points on this horse at Deadwood, and he's drawn him again, the judges have changed. The arena has changed. The money has changed. And you'll ride different for 86 points on that same horse,
Right.
or he'll buck you off because you'll think, my God, I can just pitch that rein to him. I've got him mastered. He'll drive your head in the ground so quick you can't think. So what do you say when a guy gets bucked off? You read lips on TV, you don't always want to say what they say in a family atmosphere. However, what Justin McKee has got and is giving back rodeo today, well, I highly recommend any young people want to go and be a rodeo announcer that you go to his schools.
It's incredible. I went to the first one.
Yep.
Wow.
He's brilliant.
Brilliant.
I used to have schools, and then I found out that all them guys I was teaching tried to come around and get my job. So I said, I'll quit this crap. You know, who's one of the greatest storytellers in the world with the fastest mind that I know? Joe Beaver.
Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's amazing. And he can tell you horse genetics and where that horse come for 5 generations back. And I look at the horses that Canyon, my grandson, rides, my son-in-law, Daniel, rides, and I can look at the pedigree on these quarter horses. I don't know that much about thoroughbreds, but I love to go to the races. And tell you, you got bone out of this set of genetics, you got fire and hind gears out of this set, you got hard rock black feet out of this set, and if it's a mare, she's probably going to produce you something that might weigh 1250. Well, if you're a header in the team roping, you need to be riding 1,400 pounds. Mm-hmm. Matt Tyler, Big Daddy, wide as in the ass as a 1-ton truck, but could break and run from here to there. In the calf roping, you got to ride them that got to get you to that position. Trevor Brazil probably is today the most knowledgeable man about genetics in the quarter horse world. Sold a horse the other day for $900,000.
Jeez.
And he can take a 2-year-old, raise him, start him, breed him, go on and finish him, and they will work like a machine. These horses, these barrel racers are riding today are fire-breathing dragons.
They are. My goodness.
Oh, they're amazing. But, you know, in listening to you, Mr. Tallman, I think that what you have brought to the rodeo industry is that you, number one, are well versed in it, but you talk about the young contestants, whether this age, or whatever, and you bring that to life during a show that most people wouldn't have known before. It's just like it would be, you know, Don Ray on horse number 1611. He just got bucked off. You will get into the fact that Don Ray was from Weatherford, Texas, and that you bring a personality into what you do that no other announcer that I've ever seen can do.
Well,
they're learning from you.
You can't Google that information up. You learn it from other people, from living with these people. We have a system today in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association and a media department that is amazing. Amazing. But you don't take a staff and a set of technical equipment with you that is revolving for your eye to watch. You don't have a laptop over here that you can watch. You're watching a replay screen, and you've got a set of stats. There are people that'll do stats for you. You can hire it done.
Well, I do. This is a good segment here, brought to you by American Hats. Also got the American Hats. Just started working with them this year.
Keith is amazing.
And
the original Keith was amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
And I knew his daddy, Dwight.
Did you?
Watched him ride bulls in Idaho and Nevada in their amateurs, barehanded, no glove.
Wow.
Yeah. Susan is beyond that whole organization.
Right.
I've been working with and around Stan Redding forever. Keith Maddox was phenomenal, and that's what that stands for, Positive Times.
That's
in
right.
That little circle. And fought cancer for 10 years. Died a proud man. Susan has gone on now with her girls, will continue to do it.
Right.
But Keith Mundy oozes brilliance and says less and gets more done. Surrounds himself with people that are shakers and movers and doers. And that's why they've become who they are.
Yeah.
Wrangler organization, have been with them 45 years.
Wow.
Shirts and jeans. Okay. I've gone through 3 CEOs. I have lived the life and still wear them today. My body is designed that way. And while I've been sick, I lost 60 pounds.
Wow.
So I've gone back to wearing clothes that I had 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I'll gain that 60 pounds back.
No.
I'm healthier now.
There you go.
But What American hats mean to you? Not just an endorsement, but what do they mean to you?
Well, I think they hold I think what they hold is the patriotic spirit of the cowboy that developed the West.
Yep.
And then getting to work with Keith, getting to work with Susan, getting to go down here to the best hat store. But there's a reason that more and more rodeo athletes and cowboys are wearing the hat. It's because they're good.
Yeah.
And it's because they stand for what we believe in, which is faith, family, and country.
Thank you.
That's what I think.
Boot companies, you said you like to work with small companies, and James Fenolio is a dear friend.
I work with Fenolio. That's who I work with. Yeah.
So does Canyon.
There you go.
On his rodeo shirts, Fenolio boots. I'm half Italian, so that kind of helps with Fenolio.
Yeah.
Fenolio was there with me the night I went into surgery, the first of 3.
Wow.
What a friend.
He didn't need to be there, but that's what a friend will do for
He
you.
wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that you get out of an American hat, a Wrangler shirt, your ag shirts, is we all want to dress our part. And my part of the rodeo and the Western lifestyle is hair different than yours, a hair different than yours as a rancher, and as a restaurateur, and a cattleman. How we shape our hat, how we pull our boots on. 18-year-old kid sitting over here in a pair of full quill Fenolio boots.
Nice.
Wrong. You ought to have to wear rough outs for another 10 years. I'm a big fan of the Good Feet store, too. Okay.
Yeah.
People that have neuropathy, your boots aren't going to help you, but the Good Feet store will. I'm a good fan of beef because it's pure protein. I'm a good fan of fresh air because it's good for your body. I have had Fords, Chevrolets, Porsche, Volkswagens, half-ton, three-quarter-ton, one-ton big truck now with a motorhome, Freightliner. What do I like the best out of all of them? I want to drive, ride, or be the safest I can be in a vehicle that was made that's going to last.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do what I do, say what I say, live. And I don't have endorsements with a lot of those. But I'm also a big believer in what Jerry Durant has accomplished in the little town of Weatherford, Texas over the years. Drive a little, save a lot. And 40 years ago, Bobby Del Vecchio, the cowboy from the Bronx and the bull riding, he and I used to do ads for him. So I've always been a fan.
Yeah.
Always been a fan.
On that positive times, I always like to, this segment, I like to think of, or like you to think of maybe 5 of the most positive times in announcing. And we have a question from Carrie Clift. What is the top 5 funnest rodeos to announce?
Oh, my God.
That's a good question. I like that.
Fort Worth, Houston, Reno, Calgary, and the NFR. Those 5 fit?
Hell of a list.
Whoa.
Those are on
Hey.
my to-go-to list.
I spent 41 years until COVID came at Calgary. I spent 49 years now, or 48 at Houston, 50 at Fort Worth, 50 at Reno. Which one did I miss? Oh, the NFR. First time I worked the NFR was 1972, and I was packing flanks and worked on the crew with Buster Ivory in Oklahoma City. Started announcing that rodeo way too young. But it worked that way. Thank you, Jesus. I have had a job in Oklahoma City or the NFR every year since 1972. What is that?
72,
I don't know.
3, 4, 5, 50, some 55 years.
Yeah. First job I had there paid $15 a day.
What job was that?
I was on the feed crew, labor crew. I used to sit with Gary Gist and watch him make the world champion buckles. He'd start 2 days before to make the 8 buckles.
Wow.
And up 10th day, he'd finish the all-arounds.
And that was when, Bob? In
1972.
that was the buckle. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that was,
Yeah.
you didn't get involved with rodeos without thinking you wanted to win one of those buckles.
Gist buckle.
Yeah. I remember that.
I've been with
vividly.
Montana Silversmiths since the day that they got involved. I champion the acceleratory, would you say, industries of the rodeo business that feed off of the contest and the events. I have a friend, his name's Mark Brown. He makes wire jewelry, all kind. You make your brand, make you a ring, make you a pendant, make you a hat, sticker. Amazing man. He's from down in Victoria, Texas. Works all over the world. He has made history in the industry because he's given it 50 years. And his products haven't changed that much, except now he's on TikTok, so my God, he sells $1 billion a day worth, I think. Those 5 rodeos that I named, you have to have the passion before you go to the very first one to not just do those, but to last. And I know guys that hip jump, well, I got this and pays X. I could go over here for more. I'll quit this one. I'll go over here. They're chasing the money. They're not chasing a career. How long do they last? Not that long. I know women that have been excelled, Shelley Mowry, Pam Minnick, that have excelled as ladies, as broadcasters. And you got to remember, when I was just a kid starting, I had the guidance of Bob Eubanks, Kurt Gowdy,
Wow.
John Blair Television from New York. And we used to go tape a rodeo in Miami or West Palm Beach and fly to New York and edit it the next day. CBC Sports, we'd work a rodeo or 2 or 3 in Western Canada on Sunday night, packing 2-inch reels of tape on an airplane, fly all night to go to Toronto. Get in the studio. I used to do Mercruiser, water ski sports. And if I wasn't tan in the summer, they'd spray tan you, spritz water on you, standing next to the beach with guys jumping on skis and jumping boats over all kinds of stuff. Be diversified. Don't just let your life become, oh, gotta go to another one. Oh, gotta do the homework.
Yeah.
I love doing the homework. I re-educate myself. Now, you got to understand that when you're a baseball announcer, as I told you earlier, I'm a fan of the Texas Rangers. We live here.
Yeah.
And we put the rodeo on during the COVID thing
Sure.
in Globe Life Field. They have a set of computers and people that are watching and listening with headsets that are feeding them information that you don't have a place or time to write down.
Yeah.
How would those guys know the opposing team for the Phillies or the New York Yankees or the LA Dodgers? How would they know that this guy on the opposing team batting .391 against a guy pitching that has never thrown out more than maybe 10 strikeouts in a game? That comes up on a screen. They got a staff of people that give them that stuff. And how they deliver it is cooler. It's the coolest thing in the world.
Right. I bet.
I champion them because they don't always talk, but much more than like this. And then the guy will get, hits one to center field and it hits the fence, didn't make a home run, but you got a guy he's going to run for second base. You got 3 on, and it's 3-2, and the pitcher strikes him out. It took all that time to build 3 guys on base, and it's your team, and you're ready, and there's 3 balls and 2 strikes, and this guy swings and misses. You know that old story about atta baby, oh shit? Here you go. I got to start all over again, get me some more atta babies to get into it. I don't watch baseball or football or NASCAR that I don't get in that car with that guy and drive. And I want to know everything that makes him tick. I want to see the pit crew do what they do. Now, I've been to some NASCAR races, thanks to my friends at Copenhagen Skull and Wrangler and Walt Garrison years ago.
Yeah.
I've flown in helicopters into the pit with Charlie Daniels while he sang the national anthem in Charlotte, North Carolina. An experience that most guys never get to do. Most people don't get to do. I've been to North Texas to the Speedway, and when we used to work for Boyd Gaming, and it wasn't on the 50-yard line, it was on the checkered flag 50-yard line. 1 suite over, and we'd go down and go in that tunnel and go out of there and go in the pit. Well, everybody else wanted to go and see the drivers. I wanted to see what made that pit crew work. I wanted to see what them big air guns can do and change 4 tires in 16 seconds. I wanted to smell that fuel that went in that car, that when that guy drives that hose in there or that bucket, whatever he's putting that in there, and he fires it away, that guy's leaving, and you can just see the fumes flying through the air. Love that smell. Been on the front row and had to put the headsets and a helmet on because the rubber is flying at 140, 60 mile an hour when they're coming by there.
Sure.
Got a dear friend lives 5 miles from me who shoots for Toyota. He's a photographer. At 200 yards, his camera lenses can shoot the brake drum on a tire when it's making a 2-degree turn to the left, and he shoots in there because that pit crew wants to watch it and sees what happens. So they know what his brakes look like 10 laps later.
Good Lord. Wow.
I love this stuff. That's why I'm going to live to be 100. Then I'll tell you what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
Well, as we get ready to land this plane, I love that you're a man of faith and love sharing about it too. And how has faith played a part in your career?
Interesting, and I've told this story a few times. I don't know, back in the 80s, people started, because I'd pray at a rodeo or something, people started writing in newspaper and magazine articles that I was a man of faith. And you go through this in your life and how fast you live to a certain point to where you hit the bottom, and when you come back up, you go up there and you stay there. I was born, baptized, went to catechism, graduated, and was married in the Catholic Church. My wife gave up a lot and went and became a Catholic because my dad said she had to. And we got married in the Catholic Church 58 years ago, come December 27th. So I lived in Nevada, lived in California, lived in Oregon, Baker, Oregon, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And I'm doing this rodeo stuff. In 1983, I did 303 performances in 1 year, plus radio and television.
Wow.
Roy Cooper used to say he lived in the fast lane, so he didn't have to make U-turns. He said, we just turn the plane around and go back the other way. God bless my friend Roy. When Roy Cooper died, I didn't lose a friend because he's still my friend. I lost a part of my life. But we were living pretty fast. People say, he's going 90. We were going 190. And working every single day. One day I said, I can't take this no more. I'm missing things. I missed my daughter's 4th birthday. I was busy. I was at a rodeo. Dang near missed her high school graduation, made it to a college graduation, and I just got to go to my grandkids' high school graduations. A friend of mine, Matt Tyler, one morning, pulled into the back of the ranch down on Bethel Road 30 years ago. He said, come on, let's go. I had sweats on and a pair of Justin Roper boots, sweatshirt. I said, where are we going? He said, just come on. I said, let me put some jeans on. He said, I said, come on. He come got me by the top of the shirt. Out the back door we went, got in his car, and we drove to Greenwood Baptist Church. In that room sat Roy Cooper, Walt Garrison, some other friends of ours, and a great big guy, weighed 300 pounds. His name's Brian Bond. Still the preacher there today. I looked around the room and I went, holy mackerel. I just sat down. They were having a Bible study. Everybody else didn't look at me, but he would look up occasionally and look at me, and I thought, it's time. I have more buckles than I need. I could pave my driveway. 20 saddles that I can't ride anymore. Trophies and plaques on the wall. Bronzes coming out my ears. I said, enough. No more awards. No more. Michael, we talked about the 3 crosses.
Yes, sir.
About the 2 men that hung beside Jesus Christ. One knew where he was going, one was hoping he could get there. And one who never complained and died a bloody, breathless way. I thought, put all that together that I've done, put all this together where they want me to go. I got to find me a place in here that's middle of the stream. Got a little current, not any breaking waves, and I got to go from way down here of being, happy with, get another buckle, get another check, get another trophy, get another job, to being satisfied with what I had at the moment and give it up. And I did. Okay? My wife and my daughter, before my grandkids were born, and I were baptized in that church, and that day we walked hand in hand. My feet weighed 5,000 pounds apiece. Driving to that, or walking to that baptismal. Had no pain, heard nothing. And the loudest sound you'll ever hear in life, a guy named Jerry Jeff Walker told me this 40 years ago. The loudest sound in life you'll ever hear is silence.
Interesting.
Give it up. I don't know what day in the month of March here this year, March 7th, 8th, 9th, after the 3rd major surgery at St. Luke's Hospital in Houston, I had a lady from Guyana, West Africa, that spent a lot of time at night. She was my night nurse in that hospital. It was probably one of the most brilliant, best-read Christian women I have ever met. When you're septus, you don't know how to be sick. There's no thermometer that says, oh my God, you're 103. Oh my God, you're 105. Oh my God, you're sweating. Oh my God, you're sick. Twice I saw the white light veil. I didn't see Jesus. He didn't come out and go, hey, Bob, come on in. I didn't see my family like some people do. But I saw that white light. And I went, interesting. The second time I saw it, I knew. It's okay. I'm accepted to go there. But they don't want me there right now. I got stuff to do. And this is the first electronic device I've ever told that story on.
Wow.
It's
Powerful.
very powerful. Yeah. What a story, Mr. Bob.
If I go today, my bills are paid. I'm ready.
Amen.
That felt good,
Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
Change your perspective a little bit, won't it?
without a doubt.
Don't need a cut sheet to go to heaven.
You don't need a cut sheet to go to heaven, no.
No.
Yeah, thank goodness we don't have to pay for that because we couldn't do it ourselves.
No.
Yeah, praise the Lord for Jesus paying all that for us.
Yep.
I look at my trophies today, which I don't really like doing, but my family has them around. And I think about what I lost winning that, being awarded that. And I go look out the window to the west and see some cows in a pasture. See a couple of miniature donkeys that live with those cows, burros. I see my kids on a horse, and a lot of people are afraid. Don't get into my world if you're afraid. Because once you have given, reconfirmation comes not by going to church, but by praying for every moment, for everybody, for every day, for every incident. And when I see an ambulance go by, full or empty, I pray for that driver to get that person to somebody whose hands will reshape their life, save them, or bury them with dignity. Until you have been close to death, you don't know how to live. Until you have committed every breath that I am going to take until my final one, if you don't give praise to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for being able to breathe, I know it's, some people say, that's stupid. I walk into Costco and I pray for dignity of what I'm going to buy for the people that made it, brought it, imported it, whatever, to get it here, and give thanks for the money that I have earned, that I've saved to buy those products, to go back and get in that car and drive on the freeways today.
Amen on that. That's very true.
And road rage is a big deal. I pray for them people.
Yeah.
Pray for them. Because they are on a path of destruction that takes them nowhere. Those are the fun things in life. Instead of cussing a guy that's standing next to a pylon doing construction work that slowed you up 7 minutes, pray for that guy that he gets through the day and somebody doesn't run over him.
Yeah, talk about a change of perspective.
Oh, yeah.
It's a different.
We had a little bit of that today coming in.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. It's amazing when you get in a tight Under your breath, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Easy. I do it at the rodeo, but I ask them, don't put a camera on me. Because I don't pray like most people pray. I find a word before we pray. Could be competition, could be Tuesday. And I build a story about how blessed we are by that word.
Mm-hmm.
So many people don't understand the Holy Spirit as the transformation of energy transferred from our Lord and Savior to them, right past them. And they don't know how to reach out and catch it, hold on to it, and make your life stronger. And then you pass it on. You're only here as a body. And if you catch that spirit, you send it on to somebody else. Don't wait for a letter in the mail saying thanks. Don't wait for a text. You know you did what you could do because of who you are and what you believe, and you've done the will of God.
I've heard it said instead of running the race and just finishing the race strong, I've heard it said of passing the baton, just kind of like you
Totally.
said, passing it on to where you're passing it on to Canyon.
Yep.
And I love that. That changed my perspective. I heard that about 2 weeks ago on a podcast that I like to listen to, and I'd never heard it put that way.
Yes, Justin McKee. Talk about a strong man of faith. Boyd Paul Amos. Wayne Brooks.
He invited me to his little Wednesday morning. I say little. He's been doing it for a long time, and it's a group of men that gather every Wednesday morning to
What's that called?
talk about
Brothers?
it. He didn't tell me.
I got a friend, Gary Houghton, who belongs to an organization I want to go to. It's called Brothers on Wednesday mornings. Weatherford.
Might be.
They started with 6, and now there's 70 or
Can
80.
you physically go? Or is that what you do, or you're on?
I believe well, I'm doing it over Zoom.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
But
Some people, and I've met him 2 or 3 times, don't understand. Well, I don't want to get off into that.
well, no, I mean, you've shared a lot of powerful things today,
Yes.
from the story of your life to the importance of this beef that I'm probably going to try to eat if the kitchen's still open.
We are going to do that. Yes. We got here early enough that the kitchen.
Get here. What is it you have? I like the brisket sandwich.
I'll bring you a menu. Y'all can order.
That's great. Yeah, I've had past couple times I've been here. Is it the tenderloin sandwich? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Man, I love that. But it is my honor to have both of you on the podcast today.
Oh,
Thank you.
wow.
This is a perfect spot and
No.
a place I
waited
would
for
come
6
no matter
months
what.
for this.
I can't leave until I sit here and listen to this and what you've done. And it's amazing what you've brought.
Just grab that. Yeah.
What you've brought here today. It has a lot to do with the meat and what we're doing, but it went a lot deeper than that. What I've gotten out of this. But I look at Bob Tallman that I've gotten to know fairly well over the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. I mean, but I've watched him since, I don't know, a long time ago, announced at the Fort Worth Rodeo, and I remember thinking, before I die, I want to go shake his hand. And then you lost some of the sizzle because whiplash started coming to the rodeo, and I got entitled to that, but I'm only joking, of course, Bob. But I did introduce myself to you at a rodeo, and I don't know, I'm going to say 1980, and you were so kind to talk to me like, and I always remembered I got to get to know you. But my point is, Bob and I are so close to the same age, and we've started our life, whether it was where he came from or I started in Weatherford, and we've now sitting here today at almost 80 years old, and have been through situations that these young folks, including yourself, thank God, have witnessed, but not as dramatic at times as what we've gone through. But we've gone through it with a lot of faith and a good family that helped us get through, and God to help us get through being a kindergarten kid at Weatherford, Texas, to going to A&M and that. So I got a lot out of what was not so much about what the beef is here today, but listening to your podcast and how you brought this out and what Bob's shared It's pretty amazing, and I think it's one that I'm going to remember this day for a long, long, long time.
Oh, you bet.
Anyway, thank you for that.
Thanks,
Bob.
buddy.
No,
Well, I'll
my
tell you,
pleasure.
I think it was ordained that we didn't get this podcast done before your trip.
There's a reason.
Yeah, good point.
I believe
There's
I,
a reason.
I truly believe in that. Well, I do have one request.
Yes.
If I'm going to play a little music,
Yeah.
and would you do an outro
Oh, yeah.
like you would as a rodeo, like you would at any rodeo? Would you do an outro for us?
Yeah.
And if you want to hear the music, I've got the headphones.
Oh, I
ready.
love it.
Yeah. It's just I got a little rock music here at the end.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm a rock and roll fan.
Let's see. Episode number 80. All right, you ready?
How long does it last?
Oh, it's plenty long. As
Okay.
long as you want it to be. There you go.
Well, if we got your dander up today on number 80 of the Registered Ranching Podcast, Don Ray, thank you for the use of your beautiful room and this beautiful restaurant. That is why I say big time thank you to Tucker. Thanks to your grandpa, thanks to your dad, thanks to you and your brother's kids for letting me be a part of the R.A. Brown livestock. To all of you out there that have never had a good Angus steak, shame on you. I say at the rodeo, let's buck them and buck them hard. Let's breed them and breed them better. Get you some beef, get you some protein, and make sure your kids are raised on it. On behalf of the world of rodeo, ranching, and I don't care what kind of rodeo you go to, thank God there's another Bob Tallman coming down the road. His name, and I waited till last to say this, Garrison Allen.
Ooh, what a shout out. What a shout out.
Get ready.
He's a good one.
If you've never been a part of our broadcast, there's 79 ahead of them. You need to get in there. Get them all. I'm excited to see what they're going to do in 81. There's only one way to step in it, and that's step in it deep. And if it's warm and green, you're following a cow. If you're a believer and you can't tell the world about Jesus, you need to read the Bible again. Good day, good y'all. As they say in Texas, say y'all. Bye-bye. We're gone.
Episode number 80. Don Ray, Bob Tallman. Thanks for listening to the Registered Ranching Podcast. Yeah, that's special. I will remember this for a long time. Without a doubt. Yeah. Well, let's break some bread together.
I'm ready.
I'll get the menus.
I'm going for the brisket sandwich. See you at the meat board. Don't worry about that microphone. They're made out of plastic.
They make more of them.
Bye-bye.